Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? You'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Right, so Tom, we're going to do another little audit for the podcast. This time it's for episodes 28 to 46. So
Seems a bit random, that.
Nice round numbers. We've
Why have we picked that, Jim?
I think it might have just been because we had to hastily put together an episode for this week.
Maybe, yeah.
Did you have a nice Easter, Tom? Did you have any eggs?
Had half a pack of small cream eggs. You know, you get the small ones in a pack.
Yeah.
And there's like 6 or something, and there's far less than you think there's going to be in this pack. I had half a bag of those.
And that was it? That's the extent of your Easter chocolate?
That's the extent of my eggs.
Okay.
I had a bar of Tony's chocolate.
Okay. That's a good brand, that.
Feels like it's overpriced for it's just a Yorkie, basically. But
it's a good ethical brand of chocolate, so it claims.
Yeah.
So that's, so you do get to feel good about yourself while you eat it. So you can't put a price on that. All right. So I had a Thornton's Continental egg.
Wow.
And half a box of Thornton's Continental. And an orange twirl egg, which was made out of orange chocolate. And also included an orange twirl.
Nice.
So I thought I'd done quite well.
Yeah. I might... intersperse, is that a word? Intersperse this episode with little stories about my holiday over Easter.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this thinking, I don't want to listen to this show because it's just a recap, you're going to get these little nuggets.
You are going to get some Tom Orry content if that's what you crave. Yeah. Where is it you went? Braintree in Essex or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's just say, it wasn't that, but yeah.
Right, okay. Right, let's get into it. Do you want to know the scores now, or should we do the scores at the end, the overall scores?
Do we know what was the score coming into this? Do you know if you prepared that number?
That I don't have.
No. Wonderful. Wonderful preparation. So let's just say I wasn't doing very well.
Well, I can tell you that Alex was winning. Everyone was in single digits, but Alex was winning. And you were very close behind.
Okay.
That's generally where we were back then.
Okay.
So we've had... let's have a look. So we've had 19 episodes since we last did this, right? Dom came back for their second appearance on the podcast ever.
Yeah.
And they won episode 28, the best game to play while you wait for Starfield. They won that with FTL. Worthy winner.
Oh, right. I don't think I was happy about that.
No, you weren't happy about that. You were actually really displeased about that.
I think it's because FTL is one of those games that looks a bit naff, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it looks a bit naff. It looks like I'm quite... even though I'm old, and I do like thinking about old games, because it makes me think of a simpler time.
Yeah.
And I got a bit teary-eyed looking at a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Mega Drive on my shelf.
Right,
so I just thought, I was young then.
Yeah.
And I'm not now. And wasn't it good then when you could just go and look at a shop and it had games in it and you didn't know what they all were? They were just all a mystery to you.
Yeah.
And these days, that doesn't happen. I go in there and my son's like, "Should I get this?" And I'm like, "No, it's shit. Do not buy that, it's shit." And he said, "But I want it, it's only £18, it's still shit, you're not buying it." And I miss that time when you could just go in and just go, "Yeah, this looks good."
Well, you can just, that's how I ended up renting Bubsy the Bobcat when I was your son's age or thereabouts. And I would say that I really enjoyed Bubsy the Bobcat for like the 3 days I had it or whatever. And I only found out that it was supposed to be rubbish from the internet years later. So, it's not...
I don't know how... FTL, so in my mind, it looks like an old game, right? Because I'm quite simple and judge things on how they look.
It does look like an old game. But it's a really nice, sort of simple, clean design because you need to know where all your little guys are and all the little stations. I played a game similar to FTL over the weekend called Space Crew. Yeah. Right? Which I'm sure, I think it's on Game Pass and things. I'm sure people have heard of it. and it's like a little Star Trek thing. It's very similar, but it's a bit more sophisticated. It's like 3D. You've got a free camera. It's like it's. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's more N64 than modern graphics, but it's like it's way more sophisticated than FTL, and I found it way more difficult to play than FTL because it was so much more fiddly.
Yeah,
so I think FTL's got the art style of FTL has a lot going for it in terms of its usability.
What did I pick? Was this the episode where I just thought I'm just going to pick Skyrim?
You tried to get Morrowind past me. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I thought that would work.
Well, I mean, I'm not that one-dimensional though, innit?
Well, I don't know.
People keep thinking I'm very one-dimensional, that you just have to mention a Star Trek thing and I'll go for it. And I'm more nuanced than that, Tom. All right, so Dom won that, and Dom, and just to be clear again, I think Dom has been on the podcast 3 times now.
He won with that Pokemon game.
Yeah, and then he won with FTL, and then he was on again, and he didn't win.
Right.
But I think what happened was he was on with Sharif.
All right.
And at that time, both of them were on unbroken streaks, and it was just like a sort of head-to-head of which unbroken streak would be broken. And Sharif won out because Sharif wins every time he's on. So
yeah.
Right, episode 29, the best game we didn't do much. You won that with Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
And a lot of people took issue with that because because people insisted that you do actually do a lot of stuff in Vampire Survivors.
You just walk around. All you do is walk around. Yeah,
and I have to be honest, when we recorded this episode, I hadn't actually played Vampire Survivors, but I have played a lot of it since. And you don't just walk around, though, do you?
There's points. I've had it on the Steam Deck, which is where I've mostly played it.
Yeah.
And I've literally just put it down. Gone and got a coffee, come back, and I'm still fine. I'm still earning all the points, getting all the coins, whatever.
I mean, that is true.
So it has to win. I literally did nothing.
Is that not
10 minutes?
Is that not more the late game though, rather than the like?
Well, I'm only talking about late game because I'm that good. I'm not talking about like when you're at the beginning and you're like trying to press buttons to hit things with your punch, and you realise you don't have a punch.
Yeah, I mean, I never did that, but that's interesting that you did that. So, so you won that one. Episode 30, the best game that made you uninstall. Do you remember who won this one?
Best game that made you uninstall. I think. Did I say Tunic for this? Possibly. I can't remember.
Yes, you did say Tunic for it.
Which actually should win, because I did actually go back later, finish it after about the 3rd time installing it, and it's very good. I did put it on like easy mode and no death and all the kind of stuff, but it's actually a nice game. I can't remember what one. It was probably like Street Fighter 5 or 4 or something, was it?
It was Guilty Gear Strife.
What? Was this because Connor's sob story about his tournament?
Yes, I thought you'd remember because you were really furious about that.
Well, I feel like that was more to do with his incompetence in real life rather than the game. That's what my issue is.
Alex tried to win with Street Fighter 5.
There we go, yeah.
So it was a very fighting game heavy episode that I think a lot of people might have clicked off that one after about 2 minutes. And then Tunic, which was Dom's game of the year, if you remember last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that looking back, Jim, you should have picked Tunic.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but
I think you can correct that now. Change the. You
can't. I mean, scoring. No. We can't.
You just said you don't even know what Guilty Gear Strive is.
We can't correct the scores after the fact, right? Every decision is final on this show, right? Nobody has ever successfully changed my mind during a conclusion, have they? Even though people have tried.
Yeah.
It's usually Bill Cliff that tries to do that. Speaking of Bill Cliff, episode 31, which was our big Christmas episode.
Right, with all the guests.
With all the guests, yeah.
That's the guest one, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun time, wasn't it? What a joke we played on them, Jim.
Yeah, it was great. And I think a lot of people actually genuinely did, at one point in the episode, think that Miller had stood us up.
It's because of my acting. I think if you listen back to that, I obviously set this up as a gimmick. you did all the hard work getting it to happen, but I told you what to do.
Yeah. So it's about this,
and then
as usual, isn't it?
I knew what was going on, but my acting in this episode was so good. Even the team thought it was real.
Yeah, I mean, the people who were on the episode with us, who was it again? It was Alex and Bill Cliff, wasn't it?
I think Bill Cliff was there. I can't remember if it was also Alex or not, but yeah, it must have been Alex. He's on all of them, right? So yeah.
Well, he did have a streak where he wasn't on. There was a couple of weeks where he was away, and James filled in the Donaldson role and kept winning. And when Donaldson came back and found out about this, he was absolutely furious. But no, you're quite right. Alex was there. Alex tried to win with Christmas Nights into Dreams.
Yeah, that's just the basic choice, isn't it?
Yeah, and you picked Football Manager, which would be
that had the story about how I saw in front of my mother-in-law.
Yeah, which was
because the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories on the podcast about you either ignoring or upsetting your family, I've noticed.
Maybe this is a good time to introduce the first of my stories.
Yeah, all right. Is it about ignoring or upsetting your family?
No.
Okay.
No. We went on holiday. Where did I go?
Braintree in Essex.
Braintree in Essex.
Yeah.
And we drove there, and there was a National Trust on the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got about 15 minutes away from this National Trust, which happens to be exactly between where we live and Braintree in Essex. And there was a smell in the car. There was a smell.
Right.
Clearly, a child, the youngest child, had done a poo. And we knew we had 50 minutes to go, and my son was like, the smell. It was like, we know about the smell. We're getting there as soon as we can. So we got to the National Trust immediately. Oh no, it's leaked. The worst thing you want to see as a parent is leakage.
Yeah.
And all the clothes, everything had been packed. Literally, the back of the car was rammed. I had to unpack everything from the car to get to this bag with the clothes in. Yeah. And there was nowhere to change her in the car. Usually we can do it because the boot's quite big, go on the state. And there's enough room in there to lie down and change her easily. There's no room because of all the stuff. So we had to find an area in this National Trust parking in the car park, and it was rammed because it was Easter, Good Friday, right? So was it Good Friday? I can't remember. It was a day, and it was packed because it was good weather, and we could barely got in as it was. And then my wife went off to find a space to change her, and I was like, I'll meet you. I'll bring the clothes as soon as I get them out the car. And I went to find her, and I'd forgotten something that she needed, so I had to go back to find the car. And that's when I realised that I had no clue where the car was. So it took me 15 minutes from that point to find the car. This old woman came up to me and said, "Are you all right? Have you lost your car?" I'm like, "Yes, I have lost my car." I was a bit curt to this lady, probably. She didn't deserve it. If she's listening, I'm sorry. But I had been looking around and walking up and down for about 15 minutes. My wife had called me, "Where are you? Where are you? What's happened?" I was like, "I've lost the car."
Right.
They actually, thankfully, thought that was hilarious, not annoying. Eventually, I found it, took the clothes back, and all was fine. But that is the first little story. If you're listening, I hope you enjoyed that one.
It's about how you were curt with an old woman who was asking if you were okay.
Yeah, I mean, like National Trusts tend to have. She was about 85.
She wasn't a member of the. She wasn't like an employee of the National Trust, was she?
No. She was there having a scone or something. I imagine. I don't know what you do when you're 85.
Right. Okay. Just in the car park having a scone.
No, she probably had a scone, and she was on her way back to a car.
Yeah.
And she obviously thought I looked in distress, which I was.
Yeah.
I literally thought, where is it? I couldn't believe I hadn't found it because I'd walked up and down so many times, all these different aisles of car, and I couldn't see it. In
fairness, you often look in distress.
Yeah.
But let's move on. All right. So we've had so that was the best game that reminded you of Christmas, and after that we had when it was still 2022, we did an episode called The Best Game of 2023, and it was sort of let's do some predictions on it. And just to go through it. So Connor picked Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And which is a good choice, actually, because it might well be one of the best games of 2023. You picked Resident Evil 4 Remake, which, if the Metacritic is any
we now know is very good.
Yeah, is certainly up there. But Alex very cheekily went for Cyberpunk 2077. And I was so enamored by that cheekiness that I picked it.
I think that was a bad choice. You know why he picked that? It's because Alex, because he covers the tech stuff, gets sent all the new video cards, right?
Yeah.
No one else does. No one else gets sent the new video cards.
I'm really jealous of that, actually, because I would really love to upgrade this to a 4090. So Alex just gets fucking given one.
That new ray tracing update, X, looks amazing. It does. It really does look incredible. And I'm sure if you can play through the game like that, it will enhance the experience. But I can't do that. I'm stuck playing it on a Series X, which might as well be like a NES or something in comparison.
A NES. Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, I've had the exact same thought, right? Because I do I've got quite a nice PC, and it's not as nice as Alex's, but it's fairly Tory, and I do like ray tracing and all that. But there is a point where you have to wonder, who is this for? Because for example, they updated The Witcher 3. I've been going on about this on the site for weeks. But they updated The Witcher 3 and they put ray tracing in and all that. But all they did was they took a game that was perfect, right? And it ran perfectly on very mid-range hardware. It ran perfectly on the Series X. And they didn't need to do much to it to update it. They could have just unlocked the frame rate or whatever, right? Yeah. But they decided to do this full-blown next-gen update, right? Okay, fine. But the full-blown next-gen update made it all of a sudden run worse on people's existing hardware. So it's you took something that was perfect and you made it crap for most of the audience.
Can you get the original still or not? Can you get the non-updated
one? You can switch this version to DirectX 11, which is kind of like running the original, but it's still got performance issues and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just not a single person was like, Witcher 3 looks dog shit now.
Yeah. This is, again, why, even though I really don't like old games, because most of them are rubbish.
Yeah.
You think back and go, it was a better time in some ways. The main arguments we used to have were about which version had the green blood in it or something, and it was that was it. Apart from that, I didn't care. And sometimes you got a game in a Mega Drive and you got a game in a SNES, and they were completely different games. Yeah, they were just
completely
different.
Two games with the same license and the same title, but they were made by completely different teams on opposite sides of the planet. So it's the path tracing thing for Cyberpunk. I was just I'm not even going to bother trying to run it.
No, you need the new DLSS, don't you? Whatever it's called. 3.
Yeah.
You've only got basic 2, whatever, haven't you?
Yeah. So
on your graphics card that costs about $1,000 or something, probably.
Yeah. I've only got my graphics card is crap because it cost $1,000 2 years ago instead of costing $3,000 today.
Yeah.
Fucking nonsense, isn't it? Sorry, shouldn't swear. Right, so episode 32. Episode 33. Alex won episode 32. Episode 33, the best game that could have been made by an AI. And a lot of people enjoyed this because we got ChatGPT, the famous sort of text thing, AI, which basically just simulates what it thinks a conversation should sound like. It's not actually smart.
Yeah.
It's not really AI, more it's just a sort of predictive algorithm. But it's impressive nevertheless. But we got it to write our intros and outros and actually all the web page content for this episode. And it produced copy that was, let's be frank, it was rubbish, but it was like a person could have written it. It was competent.
Yeah. Sometimes I think friend of the show, Chris Pratt, replies to me on WhatsApp using an AI. I think he's just got it set up just so it responds to please me or just to fob me off.
Yeah. So the best game that could have been made by an AI.
Did I win this? I should have won this. Did I win? I picked the Jedi. I picked the Star Wars game, right?
Yeah, you picked Star Wars Dark Forces. I can't remember what was your argument for.
Because it's basically Doom. If you said to it, "Look at Doom, add Star Wars," which is a very good, simple thing for AI to comprehend. Like you give it a source, and then you go add some other bits.
Yeah, like if you put that into Mid-Journey or something, it would probably spit out something that looked a bit like Dark Forces.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I understand that now. That is quite a good argument, actually, Tom. But Sharif won with Spore.
Right.
So Sharif's,
a really complex game.
Yeah.
With multiple different stages to the game, all completely different. That game.
Yeah, but it was very procedurally generated, and I think Sharif argued that it was sort of like it might be what happened if an AI was asked to sort of imagine how life evolved. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what Sharif said because I can't remember things that I said an hour ago, right?
Yeah.
But I do remember thinking that Sharif's argument was quite impressive, and I think he invoked Isaac Asimov.
I think sometimes, Jim, you get carried away with the kind of wonder of it a bit, don't you? You get carried away with the flourish.
Carried away by the wonder of it.
Like there's someone suggests something, you're like, oh, that's brilliant, that's a wonderful idea, and you don't actually think, does this actually make sense?
Yeah.
I think going forward, Jim, if you could just have that in mind.
Well, when I get excited by something, I actually don't like interrogating it too much because it might ruin it. You know, it's like the new Star Trek that's on at the moment. If I think about it too much, I'll realize it's crap. But at the moment, I'm keeping the wolf from the door by just sort of experiencing it almost passively as someone.
Is that Picard season 3 or something else?
That's it. Yeah.
It is that, which you told me you were definitely not going to watch because it was going to be terrible.
I didn't say I wasn't going to watch it. I said it was definitely going to be terrible.
And now you love it, don't you?
I mean, love's a strong word. I mean, I'm very much enjoying it, but I'm not sure if it's actually good. I think it's a sort of crap show with good bits, but I just
like this podcast.
Right. Well, speaking of, right, so Spore won that. Right, episode 34 was the best game that suffers from bloat. And I'll tell you straight away that Alex won that with Persona 4 Golden. But you picked Breath of the Wild, which we all thought was a bit edgelord, to be honest, so that didn't win. But Connor almost won it with Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
And I actually felt bad because I think Alex had the slightly better kind of argument, but every time Connor's on, I try to I'm always rooting for Connor. I really want Connor to win, but often Connor says things that you can't really sanction. So, but this one he got really close actually with Final Fantasy 15.
Did he not also say that he hadn't got past the train or something? And then Alex was like, but it gets really good after the train. Mm-hmm. And then, or something like that, along those lines. He probably said that in about 12 minutes worth of airtime. I mean, well, the thing is, Donaldson knows things, which is the problem that Connor always has. It's the thing that Connor always complains about because he's like, it's not fair because I'm only 23, but Alex knows things. I'm sure he basically said that verbatim once. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, but Alex isn't like in his 50s or anything. He just knows things. Yeah.
So it's difficult to win this show against someone like Alex who knows everything.
That's my problem. Is that I know a lot of things, but on a very surface level. Yeah. I can blag my way through most conversations about video games. But then you go like really in depth about something like, yep, nodding, yeah, okay, yeah, definitely agree, yeah. And I'm like, no, like who makes games? I don't know, people. I really don't know who most of them are.
Yeah, and you don't have a close personal relationship with any developers or anything.
No.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, episode 35 which is the best game that shouldn't be made into a TV show, which obviously was inspired by the HBO series based on The Last of Us.
I'm currently on the last episode. I'm watching the last episode tonight.
Oh, right. Cool. I've well, I shouldn't admit it, but I have it, available to watch.
On Now TV, is it? You got
on Now TV, yeah, on Now TV. I subscribe to Now TV just to watch this show, and I'm just waiting until I've got the right moment. I do want to see it because, right, I was talking about this on Twitter the other day, right? I like The Last of Us, right, and I love the games. And when you're in them, when you're playing those games, they're brilliant, right?
Yeah.
The sort of the minute to minute, actual experience of being in those games is great. But I don't like anyone who likes The Last of Us. It's one of those things where it's like, it's great, but the fan base ruin it.
Well, I think that's often true for lots of particularly PlayStation exclusives, right? Where people are so into them that nothing else is on the same level at all. They can't comprehend that other people might not like them. I really like it as well. Yeah. And I think the remake is actually on PlayStation at least is very good, and it significantly improves the original. And I think it was warranted, particularly going alongside the show. But you can't talk about any exclusive on PlayStation without getting a load of people getting aggro with you.
I often feel like I'm genuinely being gaslit, not just specifically. People talk about The Last of Us being, what was that quote from the TV producer? The greatest story ever told in games. It's like, I mean, is it? But also, I mean, it's very good and it's very well told. I'm not sure if it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's, say, much better than something like, an arc in The Walking Dead or whatever, but it is very well done. It's very well produced. But The Last of Us is great. I love part 2 as well. A lot of people who loved the first game hate part 2. I thought part 2 was fantastic. I didn't want to look too much into the director Neil Druckmann and what he had to say about it, because he said a few things that rubbed me up the wrong way, frankly. But if I just step back from that, as I say, the experience of actually playing those games is brilliant. But the TV show has had the exact same thing. There are people who are really into the TV show who've kind of ruined it for me before I've even seen it.
It's good. I know we're going off a tangent here, but it's not like I know people are up and down this as well, but I'm watching Succession as well, right? Yeah. Succession is highest level, unbelievably good. You can't take your eyes off it TV. Yeah. And Last of Us is a good show. It's good. It's better than most shows, but it is not top level, the best HBO has ever produced. Like Chernobyl, which is by the same one of the writers, right? The guy that wrote Chernobyl or produced something. He did this and Chernobyl. And Chernobyl is at least a couple of leagues up from this in terms of quality, and an unbelievable TV show. But it's very good. It's a very good show, and if you are someone that's you must be validated, your hobby must be validated by how it's portrayed elsewhere, then it's good. Fair enough. I mean, all right, I should really watch it. I mean, I should really watch it as somebody who is in the games media, just to keep on top of things, really. Okay, so so the best game that shouldn't be made into a TV show. You picked Skyrim, which I think because it's boring.
Well, I think it's a great starting point for a TV show. I didn't really understand your argument on that.
Because it's boring. Why would you watch a boring TV show?
Not really, well, a TV show wouldn't be boring, would it? Because it would have a thread and characters and stuff. Kelsey picked Fortnite, which I agree with, because it would be a bad television show, and it would be a sort of Ready Player One sort of thing that was just rammed with pop culture references, and idiots would like it for that reason alone. But James won that episode with Journey, which I think, on the basis that it is that game could not exist as anything else.
I mean, in a way, no, because journey, think about it, particularly when you play with someone else pops along to help you out a bit.
Yeah.
Is that not just The Last of Us, right?
No.
You've got two people making their way somewhere.
Yeah.
That's it. It could easily be a TV show.
I mean, no.
You'd have to like make them talk and do some quips and stuff.
Yeah, but you'd have to add so much to Journey that you couldn't actually, like, it wouldn't be Journey by the time you'd got done with it. Unless you made it some sort of, I don't know, anime, like a silent short or something. It might work as like an animation, where all the emotion was done in facial expressions and stuff, and it was sort of, a bit of an art house thing. But like, I don't think it could sustain. It couldn't be like a HBO live action series, could it?
Well, we'll see.
I mean, we won't see because nobody's going to do that. All right, I think we need to barrel through these now, right? Okay, so episode 36, the best game that really needs a remake. Do you remember who won this?
It's probably like Alex saying like Final Fantasy 4 or something. I don't know.
No, it was James again.
What did he say? Final Fantasy 6?
No, well, see, Alex tried to win it. Alex tried to say Final Fantasy 8.
There we go. Yeah.
But James won ultimately with The Simpsons Hit and Run. Possibly the greatest GTA clone of all time.
Yeah, and this is just Jim likes the game, so it wins.
I mean, I don't. What other category am I supposed to?
You've got to, like, in your mind, Jim. Right? Yeah. Just don't be so biased.
I'm not biased though, because I think we made a really, really solid argument for The Simpsons Hit and Run.
No.
Because
what did I pick?
You picked. Sorry, I had to get it back.
It should have won.
I've moved off that page now, Tom. You picked. I shouldn't have even checked. Of course, you picked this. You picked Project Gotham Racing 2.
Yeah, I thought I had, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah. I mean, on what basis does that need a remake? We've had 5,000 driving games since then.
Because the world has changed since then. It's based in the world. You could update it with all the world as it is now. It would be a good, like, companion piece to the original game. I think you could look at the world now and then. You just have high streets that are just all pound shops and boarded up. Yeah, like co-ops and stuff. Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, you could just play like Forza Horizon 4. No, that's basically PGR, isn't it? No, that's a modern take on PGR, is it not? No. Is it time for another of my little stories? Yes, I think so, yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think. So, I was on holiday, and just to give you an insight of what my holidays are like, this one really, that's not much, isn't really much to it, but because we've got a young daughter, like, and we were staying in a Travelodge because I refused to spend more money on like a cottage or something. Yeah. So we're in one room Travelodge with two kids. Yeah. And she goes to bed at 7 at night. Mm-hmm. So we have to sit there in like darkness and silence from 7 p.m. And because we hadn't managed to eat dinner that day because she caused a bit of a stink in a restaurant, we went and got a Sainsbury's meal deal. So my evening that night was sat in darkness eating it was, to be fair, the upper end meal deal, the £5 one. Okay. I splurged on that. So I just sat there on the incredibly uncomfortable Travelodge bed. If you're listening and you work at Travelodge, what are you doing with those beds? They're bloody awful, right? Mm-hmm. And I sat there just eating my meal thinking, yeah, this is what it is. This is my life. Yeah. That's it. That's the story. It's a good story. I should point out that people don't realise this, but I do put on some stuff for this show, right? Yeah. I'm very happy in real life. But some of this is like you don't know because I'm so good, but I act a bit. I play up certain things for effect. Because if I just said normal stuff, it'd be boring. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's true. It happened, but I am playing up a bit for comedy value. There are a lot of Tom Orry fans out there.
There are a lot of Tom Ori fans who insist that like you're the comedy genius that drives the entire thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's true.
I mean, you would agree with that, wouldn't you? If someone...
This whole podcast was from my brain.
Yeah.
Hiring you, that was on me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably it.
All right. Okay. Well, the best game with followers you would never hang out with IRL. Episode 37. And this was a big streak for James, because this was the third one that he won in a row, and everyone was upset about that. But he won this with the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on the strength of the adoring fan.
Yeah.
And
again, I think you were just a bit harsh on the adoring fan.
No. I mean, I think the adoring fan is I mean, well, as designed, possibly one of the worst AI companions.
Yeah, but my suggestion was one of the many clones in the crowd in the FIFA game, right? Which on multiple levels was a much more interesting pick, because it's like, who are you talking to? Who are you becoming friends with here? How do you know you're even talking to the same person each time you meet up?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a bit of a like, that's almost an Amazon Prime show, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the concept, it might as well be. It's pretty better than some of the stuff they put out. So, but you just went with what? An annoying person.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the strength of the argument was pretty irrefutable, because it was because the adoring fan is a pretty annoying person, and you wouldn't hang out with him IRL because he's designed to annoy you.
Yeah,
you wouldn't hang out with somebody whose sole purpose in life was to be annoying, would you?
Don't know. Some people might.
I know, like you went down the clever sort of existential kind of nightmare route of what if you had a bunch of mates who were like flat, barely textured polygons and you couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah,
but I think that was a bit too abstract.
I am often too intelligent, I find.
I didn't say intelligent. I said abstract. All right, episode 38. The best game you'd never believe was from that developer. Now, Connor, quite infamously...
This was also a joke, this episode. I'm remembering it now.
Connor threw a wobbler on this episode because he didn't win.
Yeah.
No, he threw a wobbler later on, actually. But anyway, this was like Connor's sort of... Connor was starting to get really frustrated with never winning, right? He'd won like twice at this point, and he was like... and I'm pretty sure it might have been this one or one after it, but I'm pretty sure this was the episode when I said, "Look, everyone's done a great pick this episode," which I always say because it's often true. I don't say it when it's not true, incidentally. And Connor immediately was like, "You always say that when I lose." So but he picked Who Framed Roger Rabbit because it was directed by. I can't remember his name, the guy who basically directed Resident Evil and Devil May Cry.
I think Connor's problem there was had he made that after those games, that would have been a good choice. It was the wrong order. Like it was his lead up.
Yeah, I think, and he pointed this out on the episode as well, because Connor is like, much younger than me or Donaldson. He wasn't necessarily aware that like. Back when we were kids, you would see the Capcom logo in front of like Disney shit all the time, because like that was a really big thing for them. Like, they did DuckTales and Chippendales and all that. But like, so it's actually not surprising at all that the guy who would go on to make Devil May Cry cut his teeth doing a Disney adaptation or something similar. But Alex won that with Alien Isolation. You picked Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
For that one.
Yeah, it's because what they did prior to that was nothing like Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
And that was like still like as their breakout game, really.
Yeah.
It was a massive, massive departure from what had come previously. Like the game before that was a Mortal Kombat clone, wasn't it? I mean, it couldn't have been more different in terms of like of the game, in terms of the quality, in terms of the direction. It was just completely like a massive curveball.
But given that most people know Naughty Dog for Uncharted, and in Uncharted there's a bit where Nathan Drake literally sits down and plays Crash Bandicoot,
Yeah, that's now, Jim. I mean, we're talking about when it happened, right? Not looking back now.
That wasn't specified in the topic of the podcast at all. Actually,
that was implied.
It wasn't implied. Absolutely,
very much heavily implied.
Right. I mean,
you can't be surprised for anything if you look back from now, can you? Because it's happened.
Well, I disagree. I don't think it's implied at all. But moving on, right? Best game that completely flopped, episode 39. Alex won this with Shenmue.
Yeah.
On the grounds that it's so expensive.
So flopped, he got a sequel and a third game.
Yeah, I mean, but the third game was like crowdfunded 20 years later or something mad.
Still 3 games in that flop.
But, you picked Blur, which is a game I love.
Yeah.
And
that
Dom
killed the entire studio. That literally killed the studio.
Yeah. But didn't Shenmue arguably kill the Saturn?
Got 3 games.
Yeah,
it may have killed the Dreamcast, whatever, or Sega generally. But
yeah, because Shenmue 2 didn't come out on. Didn't even come out on the. No, it did come out on the Dreamcast.
It did. Yeah, it did.
But most people played it on the Xbox, right?
Yes, because no one bought a Dreamcast.
Well, exactly.
I bought it on a Dreamcast.
Quadrat demonstrandum. And Dom picked Deathloop, which I don't like very much, but it's quite stylish. I'm not actually that big a fan of arcade games, and I know that would get me crucified in some places.
I am also not a massive fan.
I get it. Like, I understand why. I don't think they're a bad studio or they make bad games or anything. They're just not the kind of thing I like. I mean, I understand why Dishonored is so beloved, but I just find it really irritating.
I just not good at stealth. Like, as soon as I always mess it up, and then I'm get frustrated, and like I spend most of the next game hiding an event or something, poking someone with a stick until they die.
Well, you know what's mad? I like stealth, but I like when stealth is like when it's like a sort of each level of a stealth game is like a puzzle, and it's all completely rules based. And you get that real sort of sense of satisfaction.
You even like the one about the little goblin man, don't you?
Yeah, Styx. Yeah. I do genuinely like that game. But I know a bunch of people are about to throw things at me and disagree with me. But I always think that arcade games, particularly Dishonored, it probably is under the hood just as kind of rules based as all those other stealth games that I like. But it feels so much more chaotic and so much easier to cock up. So I don't like it very much. Yeah. I feel like I don't really feel like I'm in control, and I feel like things can go wrong at any time for reasons completely out with my control, and I don't like that. Yeah. So anyway, like that's we're talking about video games now. We're not supposed to do that. But so Shenmue was the best game that completely flopped. The episode after that was best game with the most juvenile feature, which you won with Fable 2 because you can make a dog pee.
Yeah, I mean that is the obvious choice.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to say much else about that, do we? That's pretty cut and dry.
I never did find that photo of the dog peeing against the whatever it was, letterbox or something.
Yeah,
I took from a moving car by accident. I wish I could find it, but I can't.
Alex picked 50 Cent Blood in the Sand. This was the one where Connor infamously tried to get Goddess of Victory Nikkei on, and it was so problematic in general that we couldn't even link a video of it on the page.
I haven't even Googled it.
Yeah,
to see what it is. I haven't.
You might just get. You can't. Don't do it on a work computer.
No, definitely not.
All right, and then episode 41 was the best game that you can't forgive.
Yeah, I can't remember what I picked, even though it was quite recent.
Yeah, we're getting into like the really recent episodes now, aren't you? You picked Morrowind for that one.
I remember.
You made up that story about how you bought the game and then you came home and then you almost got the dog run over or something.
Well, you know how I said a minute ago about how I try and play up certain things for the show? Yeah, I thought I'd just try making something up. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time, right?
Yeah,
People with
because
really interesting stories. You go on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
most of the crap on there is all made up nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And
But
it's just
there's
like, I get up at 4 a.m, I do 100 sit-ups, then
Yeah.
200 press-ups, I drink a bottle of carrots, and then I go and hang upside down for half an hour. No, you don't.
That's because these days, literally the only way you can get like hired or anything is by lying about your lifestyle and telling people that, like, yeah, I'm a real go-getter. I get up at 6:30 and I'm always thinking about doing deals. And like, nobody's actually like that, surely.
Well, I'm not.
I'm not either. But Sharif won that with Dark Souls 2, and you kicked right off about it.
Was this because something about how he now only likes Dark Souls games or something?
Yeah. I mean,
How was it?
Yeah, because he was like, I got into Dark Souls 2, and now if a game isn't a Souls game, it just feels shallow and pointless to me. So it's ruined games for me, and I'm like, wow. I mean, that sounds horrid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit bleak, I suppose.
But you really kicked off about that on the basis that I like Morrowind. I'm on record as liking Morrowind, and also on record as disliking Dark Souls 2. May I remind you, Tom, that earlier you were saying you need to be more objective. Is that not evidence of me being objective?
No, you fell for the old, oh, my life, I'm sad because of a game story.
No, Sharif never said he was sad.
At the time, if going on what was given to you, my dog almost died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even true, as you yourself admitted.
You didn't know that at the time. You didn't know that.
I mean, I suspected, but yeah.
No, suspicions were raised during the recording.
But Sharif never claimed this wasn't a sob story. Like Sharif is a very hard-hearted and stoic individual. I don't think he gets upset. So he was, he wasn't claiming to be sad. He was just claiming very matter-of-factly, well, I played this, and then all other games were rubbish, and that's just a thing I have to deal with. I don't think he was trying to pull anyone's heartstrings, but he won that anyway. And at this point, I think if Sharif doesn't win an episode he's on, I think it would be. I don't think I could bring myself to not let him win, even if he did have a rubbish pick. And then after that, we had episode 44, the best game where you'd swap places with the main character. Now, Connor won this one.
With Crash Bandicoot or something.
Crash Bandicoot sitting on the beach, drinking juice.
But he ignored all the aspects of Crash Bandicoot that actually make up most of his life.
Well,
which is all the peril and the situations he gets into.
Yeah, but he did a very clever thing at the start of that episode, was where he caveated that I am specifically talking about the intro to Crash Bandicoot 3 where he's sitting on the beach.
So I don't think that's allowed, really.
Well,
it's not called the best intro to a game, is it? It's called the best game.
Yeah, but you would swap places. Would you not swap? Would you not prefer Crash Bandicoot's life to your own?
No.
Okay.
I avoid perilous situations. That's one of my goals in life.
Right. Okay. Well, see, I mean, he does as well, because he avoids perilous situations, but he's generally sort of thrust into them. So I still think that's the point against him. This was, I think, was this the start of your like?
This is what people will refer back to as the Football Manager run. I think probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how many episodes it lasts for.
I've skipped massively ahead there. We've missed 2 entire episodes.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Right. So just to quickly recap, episode 42, and you won with Football Manager.
Right. Yeah.
And then episode 43, Sharif won with Stalker.
I assume I lost with Football Manager. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, episode 42 was the start of the Football Manager run.
Yeah.
And from now on, you're picking Football Manager and playing your own sort of personal meta game of trying to crowbar Football Manager into every topic.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably a much more fun game than actually playing it properly.
It is, I think, a fun game. Potentially off-putting to listeners.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But does that matter?
I'm doing it just to please myself, really.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not the best way to approach this, but
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get through how you can get through things.
I mean, you have won with it. I mean, it's not the fact that it's Football Manager every week is not the reason why you're not winning. It's I'm perfectly happy to let Football Manager win several times in a row if other people don't pick anything better.
Yeah,
so
we'll see. I guess.
So then there's Connor Crash Bandicoot 3, and then the last 2 episodes, best game that's rubbish after 10 hours.
Yeah.
Alex won that with Ellie Noir. But Bill Cliff tried to put Portal into this.
It's one of his clever little how he can get around the rules tricks, isn't it? And it just fell flat completely because he got torn apart.
Yeah, because everyone said you can't do that. That doesn't count. And he said, "Oh, come on, yes, it does." And everyone said, "No, it doesn't," and that was that.
Well, should you try and claim that you play it through 3 times?
Well, he claimed
secrets and the director's commentary.
Yeah, he claimed like an actual, like proper completionist director's commentary. Everything run is about 9.5 hours, rounding it up to 10, and then it's over. So that's worse than when you were. So the argument being that when Portal's over, that's the bad bit.
Yeah,
and I think it's straying too far from the spirit of the question. That is
definitely. I think he was rightly criticised.
Yeah, and you picked Football Manager Mobile for that.
Good choice. Should have won.
But Ellie Noir was a great choice for that because it genuinely is like the first few cases are brilliant, and then it's crap for hours and hours and hours and hours.
I don't know. I think people were on my side there. I got a feeling from the community.
I got a feeling that nobody apart from you has played Football Manager Mobile.
That's wrong.
Nobody's played Football Manager Mobile.
Millions of people.
It's just you and your brother. And then the most recent episode, inspired by crime boss Rocky City, which has such 90s stars in it as Vanilla Ice, Chuck Norris, Michael Madsen, Kim Basinger, all used very rubbishly, actually, because it's a terrible game. And we published an article which claimed that the crime boss Rocky City was tantamount to elder abuse. Written by regular contributor Casey, who writes all the funniest stuff on the site. But yeah, it's a terrible game, but it did inspire the topic, the best game that features a 90s star. Now, I wanted to say, Tom, that if I was a contestant on this, right, I would have picked
Star Trek game.
No. I would have just picked Tomb Raider, because Lara Croft is a 90s star, right? She transcended fiction to become, in her own right, an actual, like, virtual personality. She was on the cover of fucking Loaded magazine, right? So, like, I think that would have been I think that would have been the good game pick, but also the fucking clever, metagame avant-garde pick as well. And I was actually surprised that nobody did it.
I'm not convinced that you can be a celebrity if you don't exist.
You clearly can be, right? Because you got Hatsune Miku.
Yeah,
who doesn't exist.
I don't think that counts either.
Yeah, because she doesn't exist, but she's a celebrity. You've got your man from Gorillaz. All the Gorillas, none of them exist. They're all just Damon Albarn pissing about on a computer in Essex.
Braintree, do they go? Is he from Braintree? Possibly,
yeah. Right. He's southern, isn't he? They're all from Braintree in Essex. So I think my pick would have been the best one, but someone else pointed out another one that would have been. I think it was my wife pointed out another one that would have been better, but I can't remember what she said now, so I don't know why I'm bringing it up.
You really take on board what she tells you, then?
Yeah, just spend a lot of time ignoring her. Yeah. But Alex won that with Def Jam Fight for NY, which I think has come up on the podcast before.
Alex brings up some stuff. Alex brings up the same stuff all the time, right? It's always Def Jam or
50 Cent Blood in the Sand, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm just a bit bored of it.
Or Final Fantasy. Kelsey picked the Herbs, which I think was a really
Black Eyed Peas, right? This wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think would have been a really, really brilliant choice for it had it been 2000s stars and not 90s stars, because whether or not will.i.am counts as a 90s star is very debatable. I mean, and it kind of depends which side of the planet you're on.
I picked one of the biggest global football superstars of all time.
Yeah.
Yet for some reason, didn't win.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him though, because I'm not into football.
Well, it's again, Jim. You just do a bit of research.
You keep calling me biased, but I let Sharif win with Dark Souls 2, so therefore I'm not biased.
You just said you let Sharif win any time he's on.
That is also true, yeah. But no, because he deserves to win, innit? Anyway, I better wrap this up. So episode 46 was the last one that we recorded. We're going to be doing episode 47 next week, and the plan is that it's going to be with cameras on now. So it's actually going to be like a video that you can watch.
You can see every time I shake my head in despair.
Yeah, because we've been looking at this and ways to keep the podcast fresh and stuff. And obviously it will continue to be a podcast on Spotify and things like that. But we do think that there are a lot of really funny moments that get lost from the recording, where Donaldson gets so frustrated with you picking Football Manager again that he starts like checking his emails.
Or when
like
Bill Cliff has a little wry smile because he's about to unleash one of his really clever picks. He's like, he knows he's done something clever.
Just when Bill Cliff is on and his cat's in the background, just sort of cleaning itself. All these things are gold, but the listeners miss that sort of stuff. So we're going to try and do it with cameras on going forward from next week. So we felt this was a good place to do another audit and talk about what the scores were. So the scores across the entire website. Are you ready, Tom?
Yeah.
To find out what's happened, right? Where the scoreboard is now. Right, I can reveal there's one person in double figures. All right, so I'll start from the bottom. Now, Dom is on 2.
Out of like 3 podcasts.
Out of 3 appearances. So that's actually a pretty good going. Connor is on 3 out of about like 37 appearances. Kelsey is on 5. And I think Kelsey has probably had as many appearances where she's won as well as appearances which hasn't. So it's about 50-50. That's pretty good. Sharif isn't on the podcast very often, but he's had 6 wins. And I think he's maybe been on the podcast once where he hasn't won.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I can't remember. I'll have to double check that with him. But he's on 6. James is on 7. So before he was way down the leaderboard, but because he had that streak while Alex was off, like that really like put his average right up.
Yeah.
So he's on 7. Tom, you are on 8.
See, I think that's a little bit. I think we've probably found at least 3 in this recap that I should have won.
Well, I disagree with that because, as I say, every decision is final.
The previous recap as well had at least 5, I reckon, that I should have won. That's an additional 8, so that's 16. That's not too bad.
No, but your score is 8 though. So and of course Alex is at the top of the leaderboard. Do you want to guess what he's on?
19.
No, actually 15. He's on 15.
It's because he talks for so long. In my mind, he's one more.
So Alex is he's done 15 wins out of, but his appearances are in the 40s, right? Because there's been a couple of episodes that he hasn't been on because he's been busy or whatever. But there's been 46 episodes of the podcast so far, and Alex has been on at least 42 of them. So 15 wins out of 42 appearances. It's it's not as good a ratio as for example Dom.
Yeah,
but having said that, it's a much better ratio than you. You've been on every episode.
I missed one. I did miss one episode.
Yeah, you missed one.
I believe.
Yeah.
So that does help the percentage slightly.
Yeah. So you basically you have lost. What? How many? I mean, it's got
30, about 38 episodes I've lost. I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think actually, I don't think Sharif has ever
37.
lost. I don't think Sharif has ever lost. I think Sharif is actually like on a 100% streak.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We need to get those numbers figured out and percentages figured out. I need to find somebody who's actually good at maths to figure these.
Someone who's listening, just work it out.
Yeah, just work it out.
Just do our jobs for us.
I'll just send you the spreadsheet if you want, So what do you make of that then? Do you think you need to change your strategy at all, or
I don't know. I mean, it depends what the topics are, right? Because it is hard to pick Football Manager everything.
Yeah.
So I'll see how long I can make that go.
Yeah.
But as soon as that stops, I'll have to stop thinking about the games.
I mean, the day that you stop picking Football Manager, I think people will be slightly sad that particular bit is now over.
Yeah.
But I reckon we've got at least another dozen episodes of it.
I mean, I'm trying my best, right?
So, all right. Well, thanks very much for listening. We do hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoy it next week as well when we're back and we've got cameras on our faces and stuff. But don't think, if you listen on Spotify and stuff and on your commute and things, don't think that you have to now seek out the YouTube version. It's just an option. I
mean, you just imagine what my face is doing most of the time.
Yeah.
It's just looking a bit miserable. I'm often I look like I've just received some bad news. Yeah,
permanently. Just in a permanent state of having been told bad news. I mean, which isn't far from the truth, let's face it.
I've got 29 Slack messages to wait for me when I get off this. Who knows what it could be anything.
Yeah. So I haven't got any. So, all right, lovely. We're going to go now, but please
leave a review.
Please leave a review, 5-star review.
And words.
Yeah, but do a little paragraph about how nice it is, about how good a podcast it is.
Don't be mean about anyone, but do say who your favourites are if it's me.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, please don't be mean.
Don't say anything bad about anyone, but do say good things about people.
Yeah, don't be mean about people,
especially if it's me, and you Tom is the driving force behind everything that happens that's good in this podcast. That's a good line you could use.
Yeah. Somebody's just going to write that verbatim now.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, please carry on with your 5-star reviews. It has to be 5 stars. There's been a couple of people who've been really, really naughty and put there was a 2-star review, which was character assassination on me.
Yeah.
Which was surprising. But for the most part, the reviews have been lovely. And every time you give us a glowing 5-star review, you really upset someone, we don't know who, but someone at Eurogamer gets furious about it.
Yeah.
We know it's not Wes, but it could be Bertie.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he's a nice guy, but who knows, right?
He is a nice guy, but he might have a mean streak.
If you listen to this and you're like, who's Eurogamer?
Yeah.
I mean, find out. So they're on the internet.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah, exactly. But they've been pursuing a vendetta against us for months, and I think it's time to stop. All right. Okay. Right. Thanks very much. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us get the word out. We're not just a podcast, of course. If you'd like to hear more from the team, then check out vg247.com for our fantastic news coverage, features, reviews, and game guides. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Transport links are pretty great here in Scotland. Your cars and aeroplanes, therefore, knobs man. You want to cross the Firth of Tay, there's only one way, ScotRail. Every minute someone's taking ScotRail. And not curtain rails or humpback wheels, no ScotRail. Up, Glasgow Central, and Rekeithing, Bathgate, Methil. What to do, just jump onto a ScotRail. Your tramlers, get yourself on ScotRail. This daft joke won't travel well, but ScotRail. Sam, wake up, man.